Hey, Aiken family. I have been thinking a lot since the decision came down to keep students remote about how I can best motivate students and get the best possible outcome for them during this period. And what occurred to me was a story from my own career at Aiken, my own tenure here. A few years back, over winter break, I was deciding what to do for my next unit. And I as we were all faced with this question, I was wondering, how can I motivate teenagers to care about learning, to care about their education? And I decided to have them read an article about Tyra Patterson, a woman who was locked up, incarcerated for a crime she did not commit for 22 years. And coincidentally, at the same time that I was planning this unit, she was released. The students took to the article that we read about her immediately because it's something close to home to them. They're familiar with the criminal justice system, many have family members that are incarcerated. They took to the article and they immediately started researching Tyra Patterson on their own, found out she had been released, and of course asked the question, can we bring her into class? And I said, sure, if you can get her in here. And so they reached out to Tyra and her lawyer, and a couple weeks later, Tyra was in the media center speaking to 80 high school juniors, and she had a much more captive audience than I ever have in front of in my own classroom. They treated her like a celebrity. She was an amazing speaker. It was a great experience for everyone, and they loved it. But I knew that we could take it a step further. I thought, how could we possibly do this? And an idea popped in my head. What if they put on their own community event at Aiken, where they're teaching the public, raising awareness around the issue of mass incarceration? The idea popped in my head, but then the fear did as well. Oh, that's just too much. Too many moving parts. I have 4 classes. Every student would have to be doing different things. It would just be so much to keep track of. What if I failed? What if they failed? It's too much. But luckily, I was brainstorming the idea with a friend, and she, maybe because she's not a teacher, had the idealistic viewpoint that it could work, and she convinced me to go give it a try anyway. So the next day, I went into the classroom and asked them, hey, you guys want to put this event on? And they said yes. And what happened afterwards was exactly the disaster that I expected. The classroom was chaos. You had these students working on reaching out to public officials. These students doing something totally different, putting on a slideshow. These students trying to reach out via social media. And these students not caring at all. It was chaos. It felt discombobulated. Sometimes I wondered, oh my gosh, I don't know if I ever should have done this. And as the night of the event approached, I only got more and more nervous. And the night came, and the nerves just kept getting more and more nervous as I saw city council people walk in the building, elected judges walk in the building, family of the students. And what I was scared of was that they were not going to be able to rise to the task. And I was scared that I had left them with too much control because it was going to be a student-run event. But at the end of the day, they stepped up to the plate. They ran with the show. The MCs did a fantastic job moving things along. The presenters, even though we had a tech problem of only half of the slideshow, well, half of the screen was showing at a time, the presenters knew their slides well enough to get through that difficulty and do it anyway. And obviously, with the crowd that we had, those folks who had written statements about mass incarceration and reached out to public officials, they had done their job as well. Long story short, everyone that had participated felt really empowered. And this includes students that aren't usually as engaged in material as others. And they still came back afterwards and talked about the experience and how meaningful it was. Moral of the story for me was that my fear of failure. I had this big fear that it would not work out. But in releasing my fear, in giving everything over and trusting in the kids to do something really cool, they were able to do it. They rose to the occasion. And I'm trying to think of ways to do that now. And I've already thought of one idea. I usually do a Federalist versus Anti-Federalist debate, a skit in front of the classroom. I think I'm going to make them have a YouTube video, and compete to get the most views. So that's just one idea I've had for what to do in this remote distance learning period. And I also want to challenge all of you. I know all of you have all done really great things, similar things, or great in different ways. I know Miss Williams took the same kids that I'm talking about the next year and wrote a book with them, publishing hundreds, maybe thousands of copies and touching many lives in that way. So I know we're all capable of doing something, stepping out of our comfort zone, doing something for these kids' education during this difficult time. So I challenge you to do that. And I also challenge you to share a similar story as I'm doing now, just to spread the inspiration, spread the momentum. So hope you enjoy this, hope you found it useful, and I hope to hear from many of you. All right, guys, swoop!